Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. Did you know that technically Peter McCain was introduced into the zombie storyline before Takeo, before Dempsey, before Nikolai, and before Richtofen? It's pretty wild to think about, but the story of Verrückt is very much the story of Peter, and since Verrückt, 10 years ago, literally 10 years ago, Peter's story has ebbed and flowed. I think that's a good way to put it, because he, for example, appeared in Garod, he appeared in a couple of ciphers, he stole some experimental weaponry that no one had seen before, he even appeared in a story trailer for Revelations in like 3 frames, and then disappeared for the rest of that game. And it was very bizarre and has sort of been a bit of a mystery to this day. Most recently, Peter appears in Alpha Omega. That's something that I'm sure you guys have seen. He is part of the Easter egg for the map. He's obviously very tied up with Purnell as well, and Peter appears in a bunch of radios alongside the Purnell radios with Dr. Hale. But the relevant thing in this video is the conversation that Peter has with the rest of the crew when you originally wake him up out of, I guess, stasis after the incident that shuts down the facility transfers Peter's life force into an ADAM Adam unit. So I'm going to play that first clip for you now from the Easter egg, and then we'll talk about what's coming next.
Whoa! Where am I? Why can't I see right? What's happened to me?
Deputy Director Peter McCain, this is Rushmore. Remember me? My new allies and I have brought you back.
Rushmore? The base computer, yeah, I remember an experiment. Something went wrong. Oh, Purnell. Something happened to Purnell.
Yes, Director Purnell is missing, as are the rest of the Broken Arrow staff. Whatever happened shut me down. I can't remember the incident itself. Some sort of recording error.
Wait, I know who your friends are.
What did you look like before landing inside this android?
All I know is that these intruders want access to the American Pyramid device.
I want nothing to do with a pyramid. We only require the elemental shard.
I have been testing them on our core values, Deputy Director. I had to make sure they could be trusted.
I vouch for them. Let them have access.
I will, but first we need to free your life force from that ADAM unit. Intruders, honored guests, please locate a secret project of mine, the Elemental Orb.
We'll get you out of there, McCain. Ain't about to leave you semper f***ed.
Okay, so the scene is set. We are bringing an elemental orb back to Peter McCain, but before we do that, and Peter then subsequently flies off, which we'll talk about in a minute, we need to talk about the little Easter egg that Treyarch put in that you can only activate if you have ULTIMIS Dempsey in your game. So you'll notice I had ULTIMIS Dempsey in my gameplay here. I'm actually going to be using a clip here from BigDaddyScopes, also known as HollowsAce. Thank you so much, Jaden, for letting me use your clip, because I forgot to record this in my game myself, but we'll move swiftly on from that point. The egg itself is not like an extra step or anything, it's just an interaction between Peter and ULTIMIS Tank, and it enlightens us about 2 elements of the zombie story, and one of them is going to be in the title of this video, no doubt, but 2 elements of the zombie story that I think are really important that we know, because they both sort of serve the same purpose. So what I'm going to do is I'll play the clip for you now, we can listen through the whole thing, and then I'm going to talk about those 2 things and why I think that it's so good that this is in the map.
That really you, McCain? I gotta know for sure. Tell me something only the 2 of us would know.
You sure you want me to do that, Tank? We go way back. I could embarrass the heck out of you if I wanted to.
Okay, let's keep it cryptic. Me and Phoebe. Sum it up in 3 words.
I forgive you.
Can't say I'm surprised. However mad you were at the time, I knew you'd come around. You've always been the forgiving type.
Man, sweet. See how I didn't embarrass you by telling everyone exactly who Phoebe is? So, Tank, I need to know one thing. Did we beat Group 935? Did we wipe their whole rotten operation off the face of the Earth?
We wiped a lot of things off the face of the Earth. It's complicated. I want you to know that I tried, Peter. We really tried. We came looking for you. Me, John Banana, Smokey.
I know, Tank, I know.
Let's talk about the obvious point first. Phoebe. In 10 years of the zombies storyline, we have never, ever heard about Phoebe. Craig Houston, Mr. Lead Writer, Why is it taking this long? I'm glad we got there. I'm glad we reached the finish line here. But 10 years just to get a mention of her name is a long time. So let's talk about why this is a big deal, right? It sounds like in the interaction, what happens presumably, and you might interpret this differently, so if you do, then let me know in the comments down below, but it sounds to me like Peter was involved with somebody called Phoebe, and then Tank Dempsey came along, and he's a nice, handsome young Marine, and basically stole Phoebe's heart potentially, and certainly stole her from Peter, and that meant that Peter was kind of left like, oh, dude, yeah, I was, you kind of hung me out to dry here, dude. That kind of sucks. And he wasn't too happy about it. But then on the other side, Tank Dempsey's met Phoebe and Phoebe likes Tank and things are all hunky-dory. Now, to me, the underlying subtext of what they say here sounds like Peter might have forgiven Tank based on the fact that he saw Phoebe and Tank as a couple and went, you know what? They're actually, they're a good match. They're a good pair. I mean, for all we know, this could be Tank Dempsey's wife. He might have got married to Phoebe, and that might be kind of why Peter sort of looks over and goes, you know what? Yep. I ain't even mad anymore. I forgive you. I mean, man, so good to have that in this map, just that little moment between them of isolation as well, without the other characters talking, without any other kind of external forces. This is just a human moment between two comrades who used to fight alongside one another, and now, after 10 years of this story unfolding and going in all sorts of directions, we get just a little sliver of closure between them. I love it so much, man. It's great. So this could be Tank Dempsey's kind of jugger girl in his head that he's been dreaming about all these years. This could be the person that he's been fighting to try and get back to. And it's interesting because there have been little moments here and there of the families of our main crew, our Ultimis and Primus together, whatever you want to call them, the Alpha and the Omega, the central characters of the zombie story. Their families have been mentioned a little. For example, Takio's grandfather. I'll be making another video about him completely entirely because I think there's a really cool story there. Nikolai's entire family, and his wives are an obvious one, of course, but there's also Nikolai's brother that needs to be talked about. Then on Richtofon's side, we know a little bit about his parents, just a little bit, because we know when they died. And we also know a little tiny bit about deep sorrow in Richtofon's past, which might be related to his family or might just be related to him in Dimension 2210. And I love the fact that Tank is being involved in this now too, in a way that we just have not seen before. I think it's fantastic for his character, especially the fact that it's Ultimis Dempsey. It's not our Primus version of him. It's not the one that has already been humanized, that has already talked about his emotions a bit. No, this is the bull in the China shop. This is two-dimensional Tank. One dimension is war, and the other dimension is more war? And now I feel like we finally have just an extra side to his character, just a tiny little smudge of one that really makes me like him a lot more. This little discussion carries right over into point number 2, which I think is actually a bigger point in the long run, okay? This could be even more important than just Tank Dempsey's family, wife, girlfriend, whatever, right? Peter in this interaction basically says, Tank, I need to know, did we beat Group 935? Did we wipe them off the planet? And it's interesting because for Peter, that is the extent of the stakes of this story. That's all Peter really knows. He is from a time in zombies when things were so much less complicated. And it's actually kind of nice just dipping into his worldview just for a second here and getting a feel for how we all felt back in 2010, back in 2009 even, when these maps started coming out. It's just a nice little teleportation into the past, but it doesn't end there, because alongside that teleportation into the past, alongside that little throwback, and the beautiful moment where Ultimis Dempsey is like, I want you to know, Peter, we tried. We came looking, me, John Banana, Smokey, and Peter just interrupts him. And man, this was put together so damn well, because he's just like, Tank, I don't need to hear any more. I know. Okay? I know. I think that's a beautiful moment, and I think that there's actually something here that could lead into DLC 4. We've got, yes, a nice, really beautiful moment of humanity happening here, but we also have a contextualization of what Peter in the present day is thinking as he goes forth in the zombie story. And so now, I want to play you another quote from the Easter egg involving Peter McCain that is going to be the springboard for this next little bit of theorization that I want to do.
This is Peter McCain. It worked. I'm in the orb now. I don't know how to explain how it feels, but it sure beats that 80 AM unit by a country mile.
Glad to hear it, brother. Just glad something went your way.
It's been a long, strange journey. Living, fighting, dying, finding out that death's not the end. Thanks to you, my journey continues. I have some unfinished business to attend to. I'll never forget what you did for me.
Oh, that was beautiful. You proved you understand the physical value. Report to operations. You know the drill.
Okay, mark my words, guys. That final line from Peter, I have some unfinished business to attend to, but I'll never forget what you did for me. That is going to be huge for the story going forwards. Let me quickly explain why, okay? Cast your mind back to Gorod Krovi. DLC 3, Sophia is introduced. She's been teased in Zetsubou, for example, in a cipher. Tiny, tiny little hints, but for the most part, it was a shock to see her actually in the map and physically there, and it was awesome. Now, we interact with Sophia in the map. She's in a robot form, mysteriously, which we learn a little bit about, but it's fairly mysterious why she is a robot in the map. And then at the end of us helping her, she blasts off into the sky and ends up being the crux of what allows us to defeat the Shadow Man in DLC 4 Revelations in Black Ops 3. She is basically integral to that entire closing of the loop, which is nuts in itself. But if we take that knowledge that we learned about the way that they wrote that arc and we apply it to DLC 4 here, we get some very interesting parallels. We meet Peter, who has been hinted in previous maps, and then we get to this map and he is mysteriously in a robot form. And we have some idea of why he got into the robot form, but it's still fairly mysterious that he's actually there. The parallels are starting to line up, right? Then we help Peter in the map. That goes great. He talks to our characters a little bit, and we learn a little bit of backstory about his old stuff, which is lovely. But he then finishes being helped and flies off into the sky and tells us that he's never going to forget what we did for him. Hello? Can you guys see the similarity between the two things that are going on here? Surely that means Peter McCain is gonna make another appearance in DLC 4. And surely that means that in DLC 4, he is going to be in some way a deciding factor between us losing this great war and us actually winning and resetting time for good, ending the Ether story forever. I'm convinced that Peter is integral to that. He's been integral to it as far as I'm concerned since Black Ops 3. I've been shouting from the rooftops that he's my favorite character in Zombies, and this is why. I'm just convinced that he's going to be the one to end it all with us. And the reason I wanted to kind of lead into this from point number 1 is that what he says here is, have we beaten Group 935? Have we wiped them off the face of the earth? That is the extent of the battle that Peter knows. And so when we get to DLC 4, we're going to be thinking about this from the perspective of Monty and the Shadow Man and Apothicons and Keepers, etc., etc. Peter is going to have a completely different perspective to all of us. He's going to be looking weirdly through fresh and somewhat naive eyes. And that innocence is a key theme in Zombies. That innocence to the dark ether, to the corruption of our world, that is something that is absolutely a fundamental pillar of the story that they are telling, and the path that at this point we are sprinting down towards that DLC 4 finish line. And so it would be very interesting to me if we get to that final battle and for whatever reason, Peter's naivety to the world around him almost and to the last 10 years of events means that he is able to help us out in some way, and he has that marine spirit that pushes him through the difficulty to get us to the end of Ether and the beautiful conclusion that I think we're all hoping we get. There's a lot of potential for Treyarch to do some amazing storytelling here, and I'm going to try and sweeten things for Treyarch by doing a full Cornelius Purnell and Peter McCain story video very soon, because there's a lot of details that everyone misses that are really key to their entire interaction, and I'm going to be talking about that very soon. So look forward to that video from me, guys. I've been MrRoflWaffles. Thank you so much for watching. One last reminder, my Great War posters are available now, waffles.ownage.com. They're finally finished as well. This is the final design. Link in the description down below if you want to pick one up. I'll see you very soon in more story videos. Bye for now.